Hi. Hi, everybody. Welcome into the Summer Wellness Series, Best Tips by Global Experts. I am Fiorenza Rossini, NLP and life coach, working with driven millennials to create a happy, fulfilled, and balanced life. I'm also the founder of this group, the Busy Bee community. And today I'm your host, and I'm very happy to be welcoming Heather. Heather and I've met online maybe about a bit more than a year ago, and since then we've been supporting each other in our business ventures. So Heather, welcome.
Thank you.
I'd love it if you could tell our audience today more about you, what you do, who you are.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me. Very excited to be a part of this series, be the first one on the series.
Happy to have you there.
Feeling a bit special. So I am Canadian. I live in the west coast of Canada, which today is very fitting. We usually call it the wet coast because it rains so much here, and it's been quite a hot summer, lots of fires happening, and today it's actually been raining, so it's very fitting. So I am a therapist by trade. I'm a registered clinical counselor. I'm also a mental health blogger, so I have a mental health blog that I started last October. I really started to get into it a lot more. And then just recently, I've also become a wellness advocate for essential oils. So I'm with doTERRA, and that's really fits in well, I think, with part of my business and my outlook about supporting people and helping them to find ways to promote self-care and take care of themselves. So yeah, that's just a bit about me.
I love it. And I think definitely we'll be talking about these two aspects today. Maybe we could start with mental health. So obviously it's your area of expertise. And I was wondering what would be the tips, the best tips that you could give us today to allow us to easily check in with our emotions and how we are feeling mentally and emotionally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Mental health is definitely a main focus for me. I work with a range of different clients. So, I see children, adolescents, all the way up to adults, and work with couples as well. So I see a range of different people. And with that, mental health is really important. One of my jobs is completely confidential. So the people that I talk to, they don't have to give any information if they don't want to. And so I think it makes it a lot easier for people to be really honest with, what's happening with their mental health, how they're actually feeling, and to be more open with that, which I think, it kind of goes with the stigma of mental health still in the world that, if you're not feeling well emotionally or mentally, something's wrong or even those sayings where, you're weak and things like that, which really isn't the case because everybody deals with mental health, at some point in time, whether it be, things aren't going well and you're feeling sad or maybe even have a diagnosis of like depression or something has happened in your life, like, divorce or a transition that you've been through that's been really, really difficult for you. So it's completely normal to go through these concerns. And I see it a lot, especially in my practice, is anxiety. Anxiety is probably, if I was to sort of categorize the concerns that I see, it all sort of goes back to anxiety. So that's something that I work with a lot. So, that's something that we can focus on in this chat and, tips and things like that as well.
Absolutely. Okay. I love that. And from what you've seen with your patients and with your practice, so what are the main causes of anxiety?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So there's a whole range. It's sort of difficult to say like what would be the main causes, but I will say that anxiety is normal. It's something that everybody experiences, even other animals. Like we were just talking about our cats just before we went live, and cats can experience anxiety, or dogs. When there's fireworks going on, dogs can get really scared, and that can cause a lot of anxiety. So, I always sort of start with that it's normal what you're feeling, and it's the brain's response to either a real threat or a perceived threat. So a lot of people have a fear of public speaking, and that's quite normal. A lot of people will go through that, but there is no actual threat in that, right? Like you're standing in front of a bunch of people talking, and yet you're going through all these symptoms: racing heart, sweaty palms, you can't think straight, things like that. So that's an example of anxiety when there's no actual threat, but it still happens, right? And so a lot of the times it happens because our brains kick into this fight or flight system that was developed a long time ago evolutionarily to keep us safe. If there was a dangerous situation, the cognitive side, thinking side of our brain would shut down, and the emotional, the irrational side would kick into high gear so that we can produce more adrenaline and do what we need to do to stay alive, right?
Yeah.
So that's still what's happening for us today. And a lot of the times it's not necessary, for us to sort of go about our business and do what we need to do in our daily lives. And for some people, it can become quite debilitating. So some of the causes could be biological, could be something happening with your actual brain structure, hormones, something like that. Or it could be, like I mentioned before, like a trigger, something that happened maybe previously in your life, and it kind of triggers that fight or flight response in a certain situation, whether there be an actual danger or not. Or it could just be, something normal that happens, right? Like standing in front of a group of people and you start to experience those anxiety symptoms. So there's so many different examples of it, and for some people it can happen, and other people looking at that person may not have any idea that they're experiencing the anxiety symptoms, but for the person it can be really difficult to process and go through those changes and those symptoms. So that's definitely something that I work on in my practice, just purely because people come and talk about it, right? So yeah.
I think there's something you mentioned there, that anxiety is normal, and I really like that, because there's a lot of people that feel anxious or are just living a moment in their life where they feel more anxious than usual, and then some people may feel ashamed about it, or they just get even more stressed because they are feeling anxious. But then it is actually normal, and you mentioned many different causes and reasons, and some are biological. So in a way, it's it's part of us. Like anxiety is something that we are meant to be feeling. And then I also really like when you mentioned that there could be some real threats, and that's, I guess, normal to feel anxious, and also perceived threats where we feel the same way as if there was someone murdering us, but actually it's not happening for real. And in those situations, so you've mentioned public speaking, that's definitely a well-known cause of stress and anxiety. What would be a tip that you could give us to better manage our perception and actually help us realize that it's only a perceived threat, it's not a real threat?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of tips then that you can go through. But first, I think in terms of normalizing it, being able to actually talk to people about it, being open about it, rather than, a lot of the people that I talk to, just like you said, they feel embarrassed or they feel like there's something wrong. So, number one is being able to share that with other people or express it in some way that feels safe to that person. So that could be journaling, or it could be, talking to their friends or family. and just being really honest, because other people may have no idea. Anxiety, a lot of what happens is inside, right? So, when you're standing in front of a group of people and your heart's racing and, your mind's going a million miles a minute, people looking at you have no idea. You just look like somebody standing up there, right? So number one is, I definitely encourage people to start talking about it, being a bit more open, and that can help other people try to understand and kind of reduce that stigma. And it can also help the person know that other people are there, and they can support them if they need to, especially if anxiety is something debilitating where you're not able to leave your house, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, no, completely.
Yeah. And in that same breath, if you are experiencing anxiety, there's a lot of different diagnoses that can happen. Agoraphobia, you can't leave the house because of social situations and that really deep-seated fear. I definitely encourage seeking professional support, whether that be your doctor, a counselor, because there could be something happening, in terms of the biological underlying reasons for the anxiety. So getting that checked out and finding out what might be happening. And, as a counselor, I'm not someone who prescribes medication, but I'm definitely an advocate if it can help with, conjunction with therapy. So those are some things that can help, externally. But in terms of self-care, there's a lot of different things that somebody can do. So, in terms of somebody standing up in front of a bunch of people and, experiencing those symptoms, or even, being live, that can produce a lot of the same anxiety for a lot of people. So some of the things that I teach my clients is grounding techniques. So that's sort of being more connected within yourself, within your body, and to the environment around you. And that can really help to connect the cognitive, the thinking side of your brain, to realize that things are okay and that you are safe and that there's nothing, happening where you need to continue into that fight or flight mode. So some of the ways you can do that, like if you're standing, let's just imagine somebody standing in front of a group of people, public speaking, and you're standing in front of a podium or something in front of you, you can actually take your hands and, hold the podium, hold the whatever's in front of you, even if it's a notebook, and really think about doing that. Really think about, like, how does it feel? Is it cold? Is it warm? What's the texture? Things like that, really going through the motions. And then also, taking a look around you, like, is it a large room? Is it a small room? Again, is the air cool? Is it warm? Fixating on something, do you see somebody with a red shirt or something like that? Does it have white dots? Or, really going through the motions and thinking about what's around you, and trying to connect that cognitive part of yourself back to the limbic side, which is the emotional side. And that's a tip that, can work for some people, going through your senses and really trying to ground yourself. I don't know if you've ever had experience with that. Is that something new that you?
Yes, I've actually, I think public speaking didn't necessarily come, it's not something that, is like super easy for me. Mm-hmm. And especially a few years ago, and one of the routes I decided to take a few years ago was actually to go into acting. Acting classes have helped me over these past few years. And I was just saying that there are actually a few exercises that we did while practicing on stage that made me think about the grounding techniques that you've just gone through, and really focusing on the moment, what you're doing right now, and the red t-shirt man in the audience, that rings a bell. And I think it's helped me, and also reduce this whole what if situation that you create in your head as well, because most of the time the people there in front of you, they actually want to know about what you're gonna say. They're not like all your enemies. They're not gonna You know, they're not gonna just like kill you instantly. So
Yeah, hopefully not. Yeah, and that's a good point as well. Like sometimes anxiety can come from um, how we're talking about ourselves, or sort of the expectations that get put on us. So, you know, I mean, we could talk about any situation, but going back to the standing in front of an audience and speaking, you know, there can be a lot of negative self-talk that people go through, like, oh, what if I forget what I'm saying, which can happen when you experience anxiety. So it's normal. But also, you know, what if I don't really know what I'm talking about, or what if people judge me? You know, what if they ask me a question and I can't answer and I'm up there stammering? So, you know, you can kind of set yourself up for experiencing anxiety with the self-talk that happens. So one way of doing it is, you know, incorporating some affirmations before, but also during the speech, or you know, when you're standing in front of somebody. So saying to yourself, you know, you can do this. You've researched, you've done all, you know, everything you can do to prepare. You know, if you do get a question then that you can't answer, that's okay. You know, you're human, you don't know everything. You know, so really being gentle with yourself and affirming that you've got this, you know, that can really help for some people, you know, changing that negative or judgmental self-talk to, you know, a little bit more like cheerleading and, you know, making sure that you're supporting yourself in that situation. So that's another tip that can help some people.
I like affirmation. I really like them. And also you mentioned preparation. And I really think that it's important to be prepared, or as prepared as you can, especially when you're not super comfortable with public speaking. Because the less you get prepared, it's like the safety net reduces, right? So, you know, you don't have to like prepare it all night, but decent amount. That actually helps, and, you know, it builds your confidence.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just something to remind yourself that you've put in that work and that you've prepared and you're ready to go, for sure. Yeah, and just another really easy tip, you know, when you're feeling that anxiety coming on, or you think you might be triggered by anxiety, because some people do really know what their triggers are. It could be public speaking, but it could be, you know, going to the grocery store or something like that, right? So really finding ways to try to relax and calm yourself. So, you know, really good and easy way to do, and something that we all need to do anyways, is to focus on your breathing. Yeah, and I like to remind people that you don't really need to take really deep breaths that are kind of abnormal. You can just focus on regular breathing, because a lot of the times when you're feeling anxious, you're tightening up and you're feeling really the tension in your shoulders, and you might not be breathing normally, and that can restrict the oxygen flow and, you know, kind of create that snowball effect of anxiety anyways. So yeah, reminding yourself to be in the moment, to just slow down, focus on your breathing, make sure you're breathing. And that can, you know, sometimes really help to bring you back down, to ground you as well. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing these tips. I really like them, and they are easy to just, you know, set them up. So that is very awesome. Thank you. I'd love to know more about your essential oils business and how you actually got into that.
Yeah, for sure. So how did I get into it? I think I was seeing essential oils, you know, posts or something like that around the internet, and not really knowing a lot about it. I hadn't really tried them or knew anything about them. And I connected with somebody who shares essential oils. So I got started just by having some samples sent to me and trying them out for myself. So at the time, I was having a lot of wrist pain, you know, probably from being on the internet. You know, my job is very much typing using the mouse, and then I'm blogging and things like that, and constantly on my smartphone. So I'm overusing my wrist. And I was having a lot of pain, and one of the one of the products that doTERRA has is a cream that helps with pain relief. So I got that sent to me, and that worked really well at easing that pain. As well as I was really interested in the support that essential oils can help with in terms of stress reduction and being able to relax and things like that. So it really interested me in that sense. So that's a bit about how I got started. And I mean, as soon as I tried the oils, I was hooked. I just needed to know more. And it can be a little bit overwhelming too, because there's so many different essential oils and products. So, it can be good to start with just a few. And so the ones that I started with were lavender, a blend, the deep blue, which is the one that helps with pain relief. So I started using them for myself, and then I realized, I was talking to my sister and a few other people in my life, and I realized that other people were kind of interested in asking me questions about them. So, I decided to become a wellness advocate so that I could share them with others, and be able to share the benefits, but also, build a business around it as well. And it's been really great. It's been really interesting. It's opened up a lot of communication with people that I had no idea would be interested. Even my boyfriend really he loves them. He's an advocate himself because he loves them. I started sharing them through my own website, but also created another one for cooking. So there's just so many different uses for them. So it's been really great so far.
And how do you learn about them? Because there's so much knowledge to have about essential oils. How do you go about learning?
Well, for me, what's really been helpful is creating blog posts. So I have a few blog posts already about an introduction to essential oils. A lot of the information I've gained is from the doTERRA website. So they have a lot of information. They have videos that you can watch that talk about what is an essential oil, because that's a good place to start as well. And I'll just briefly give an introduction just in case people don't know. But essentially they're aromatic compounds from a plant part. So it could be, like a seed or a stem or a bark. And basically what happens is they extract the essential oil. So for example, it could be, one of the biggest ones, the biggest sellers that they have is lemon. I have it in my water right now, actually, because it can be used in so many different ways. You can clean your kitchen, your bathroom. You can, help to detox your body by ingesting it. So many different ways, DIY items. They take the lemons and extract the essential oils, and basically what you're left with after a whole, process is a concentrated essential oil. So the bottles, and it's the lavender here. The bottles aren't very big, right? This is a 15 ml. But in this, it's super, super concentrated. So you only really need a few drops. And that was lavender that I was showing you. So for example, I'll diffuse lavender with a water diffuser at night, and you only really need a couple of drops. So it actually lasts quite a while, and it can really, help to produce a calming environment and stress relief, which is really important as a counselor. I need to really take care of myself, and that's become part of my self-care routine for sure. Yeah.
And which ones are your favorite ones, and how do you use them?
Definitely lavender. So I mostly diffuse with lavender, but you can even cook with it. You can make, baking and things like that. You can ingest most of the oils, but it's always good to check, right? Like you said, do your research, make sure the safety, because they're super concentrated, right? So you don't want
to be sure.
Kids, you don't want your kids or your pets to be getting into it, kind of like, you wouldn't want them to get into a bottle of Tylenol kind of thing. But so definitely lavender is one of my favorite. Even I just bring it to work. We have a scent-free policy at work, but I bring it to work and I just smell it out of the bottle, and it just sort of, helps me to really feel a lot calmer. And lavender is actually really good for skin irritations as well. So I had a tumble the other week on a catwalk, and I bruised and scraped my knee.
I
And
know.
so, yeah, so I was putting the coconut oil and the lavender on it, and it's almost completely gone. It's amazing. It really,
That's quite cool.
yeah, it helps to reduce it. So there's so many different benefits from the oils. Tea tree oil is really a great one as well for cleaning, but also skin irritation. So you can use it on your face for your nighttime routine kind of thing. There's just so many different ways, diffusing it, using it topically on your skin, or even ingesting it. So it's quite exciting once you get started and you get a few essential oils sent to you. You're excited to share them with others, but you're also excited to start using them and replacing. I've replaced almost all of my household cleaners. And now I use the essential oils and vinegar and baking soda to clean, and it's a really nice natural way to clean your house. It smells amazing, and it's a nice sort of peace of mind to know that you're not using harsh chemicals anymore. So yeah.
I definitely like that. And I've been enjoying your blog posts about the essential oils for sure.
Yeah, and there's so many that I haven't tried, but I'm connected to a few different groups, and some of them were saying these are great for sleeping, and so I was sharing them with my boyfriend because he sometimes has some sleeping issues. And so my latest blog post is about that, essential oils to help you sleep. Yeah, and I just hope that I can share the information with others about how it can be helpful, and that they can explore for themselves, what works best, because everybody is going through different things and might need, maybe you're not stressed at all. You don't need stress relief, but maybe you need some for, helping with your skin routine or something like that. So, yeah.
And the wide is so the range, sorry, is so wide that actually, I'm sure that everyone could actually, find some oils that are of interest and that could replace, some non-ecological thing that you use, and the cleaning, the house cleaning part of it that you mentioned is actually quite interesting, right? Even baking soda or vinegar, those are things that existed for like quite a long time, and I'm sure our grandmas were using it.
Yes.
But we just tend to forget about it and just go with like the easy thing, $1, £1, and that's done. So yeah, actually to be more mindful and more conscious about what we use for our body, but also for our environment is quite important.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's such a different mindset as well. When you start changing over, you really start to consider, the products that you're using and how they could impact other, people or even the animals in your life. Even just for my cat, he was sick a few months ago, and that was terrible. And I started to think about, well, he walks around all the time, and what am I using on the floor to clean the floor? Is it safe for a cat, that is licking his paws and cleaning himself, right? So even just things like that, it really starts to get you thinking, and how can I use the oils and incorporate them into my life so that, it's a safer environment. It's a happier environment for me and my family. So yeah. And that, I really do enjoy sharing them with others through the blog post, but I also have a giveaway for the lavender happening right now. So, that's completely free to sign up. So, if anybody does want to start, lavender, I just can't, I just love it.
I've definitely I signed up for it already. And if you could post a link for it in the comments so that everyone can see and can participate, that would be amazing.
Sure. Yeah, not a problem. Yeah, I really hope that, somebody, whoever wins it, can really try it out and use it, and, share it with others, because for me, it's almost been life-changing, changing to the oils and, seeing how they can benefit, myself and my household as well. Yeah, and I have a few other things that, viewers might be interested in if they're watching and they, learned about the anxiety, and that's something that maybe they want to learn more. I also have a free ebook on anxiety. So it's essentially, I think it was 4 or 5 blog posts that I, melded together in an ebook so that it's easy for people to access and read through, and lots of
Hey, I like
information.
ebook.
Yeah. So that's free as well. So I can post that link, and then I also have the e-workbook that goes along with the free ebook. So
Thank you. So much goodness.
So there's a code for that for anybody watching, so that they can have a bit of a discount off that. So I can post all those links afterwards.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing all these tips with us. And however, before we wrap it up, yes. I wanted to ask you maybe something a bit more personal, something about you, Heather, from behind the scenes. Is there anything about you that you'd like to share with us, like a special skill or a hobby,
Sure.
anything from behind the scenes, really?
Sure. I actually get this question quite a lot, like about my website and the blog. Who's your designer? Like, who's done all of your graphic design or your content? And I'm always kind of taken aback by that, because it's me,
Yay!
And it's interesting, because that's kind of how I got started. I was blogging, probably 2 years ago, and it kind of fizzled out, as it can happen, because blogging is a lot of work. But I got back into it because I found out about Canva.com, that, you can create
so
graphics.
Cool.
And yeah, it's amazing. It was so amazing to find that out, and to be able to, share my creative side. And, that's a lot of the time when I'm creating blog posts, I start with the graphics, and that's sort of how it starts and blossoms from there. So yeah, I think that's a little bit of a not so known skill that I have, that I do a lot of the technical things, the SEO. I'm definitely still learning, because I'm pretty new compared to a lot of other bloggers that are around, but
it's always a learning process.
Yeah. And I mean, hopefully one day I can sort of have somebody do it for me, but in the meantime, I really enjoy it. It's nice to be able to create something and share it with others, and see that it's actually helpful for people too, which is, what I'm all about. I really want to be there and support other people. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
I like that. Well, thanks very much for sharing this with us. We'll be checking out your website and get maybe some inspiration and on the graphics and all.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, yeah. Well,
I know that I like them. I like all the visuals that you use for blog posts.
Oh, thank you. I try my best.
Well, thank you very much, Heather, for being here. I love all the tips that you shared with us. Thank you very much. Please, everyone, do have a look at the great offers and gifts that Heather has for us. And then we'll see each other again for interview number 2.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for having me. Excited for the next speaker.
Thank you, Heather.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.